Hi there, welcome to video number 6, looking at reprogramming the C152 using templates for the various bits of equipment that are in the aircraft. And this one here is looking at the transponder. So let's get into the cockpit and have a quick look at it. So it's a really old model. Again, I have no idea what the model number is, but it's got individual rotaries for each of the digits for the squawk code. Let's bring in my X-Touch. So I'm going to use 4 rotaries to emulate turning these numbers, and that's really quite simple stuff. So if we bring in Axis and Ohs, this is where we left it last time. We've got a number of templates applied and merged together. So I want to clear this out so that I'm not going to add anything strange to my transponder template. So I'll empty that configuration. If we look at the events for turning those knobs, let's go and watch a simulator event. Ignore the spam, clear the list. So if I turn this knob here, you can see it does a number of things. There is one of these new input events working, but it's doing all sorts of interesting things. If I turn this code again, let's turn this the 1000 knob, and we'll turn it to 1. You can see the sort of number that's being sent each time. And if I turn this one, you can see all sorts of codes happening and writing that into there, and I'm pretty sure that this is binary coded decimal stuff going on, which is really difficult to work with. So what I'm actually going to do is to not use one of these new input events. I'm going to use one of the legacy codes that I've used before. That gets too complicated to work with. So this is going to be relatively simple stuff. Let's make sure that we don't keep losing Axis and Ohs. So let's filter for the transponder. And there is a whole transponder section here. And what I want to do is to have, first of all, the thousands decrease. So let's allocate that. And we'll turn this one here anti-clockwise. Click on add. And we can demonstrate that working. So if you turn the knob there, you can see that's decreasing. It rotates over the 7, which is the maximum, down to 0 again. So that works there, and we can do the increase in the same sort of way. So we want to do the 1000 increase, so let's turn that one that way. So I've got thousands going up and thousands going down, so that's fine. So it's a relatively straightforward job. To do the hundreds and the tens and the units. So there's the 100. That was the increase version. Oops, wrong one. That one there. The decrease version. And just got to make sure you turn the knob firstly the right direction and doing a number of clicks so it detects which way you turn it. For those who haven't seen this before, I'll do it on this one to demonstrate. On the 10s, we'll do the increase version. When I first turn this knob, it just registers it as a click. It's no idea what direction. It's not until it's seen at least 2 clicks in the right direction that it knows which way you're turning it. So you've got to be a bit careful with that. If you're doing it quickly, you can miss that one out. So we'll add that one, and that will do the 0 decrease, so the 10s decrease. And units increase and decrease. And just before we go any further, we'll just check each one goes in both directions. So we're happy with that. That all works quite well. This one here, this standby off on the transponder state, is an interesting one to work with. Again, if we watch the events for this one, let's just shuffle that across. It is using one of these new input events, and it's sending mode 1 for standby, 2 for on, 3 for altitude, and 4 is the test mode. So it's a very simple variable to work with. Find the variable, add 1 to it or subtract 1 to it depending which way you've turned this, and put it back into the variable again. It's pretty simple. Slight difficulty that I kind of run out of rotaries to work with, and you have to put a bit of coding behind it even if you work with a rotary, because you've got to find the value and add or subtract 1 to it. It's a fairly simple code, but I have actually run out of rotaries to use. So I'm going to have it so that if I press this button here or this button here, I programmed it in twice in fact, so that it steps through the transponder states. You're not going to use it very often. Once you're flying, it's going to stay pretty much where it is. These ones here you do want instant access to. This one here, pressing the button a couple of times is acceptable. So we do need to do a bit of coding for this one. So in my scripting, I need to make another group for my, and this is going to be my 152 transponder, because I have no idea what model number that is. So let's make one of those. My 152 transponder. I will add that group in. So that's there, ready to receive the script. So that's where it's going to be saved. So my 152 transponder, and this is the transponder state. So what we need to do, we need the variable. We need to find out what state it's in, but you won't find it in here in the variables. It just doesn't exist there. Where you're going to get it from is the event here, and in fact, if you looked at it, it was a navcom event, so that narrows it down with that filter. Right down the bottom here is the navcom transponder mode. So we put it in, but it's put it in as an input, and we're going to change it into the ability to read a variable. So the actual function we're going to use is what's called an indexed sequence function, an ISEC. It's going to step through the different modes in order in the sequence it was, and the sequence starts with 0, which is off, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then if you carry on pressing it, you want to go back down through the modes as if you're turning it left again. 3, 2, 1, and that will take it through the sequence, and when it gets to the end it will start at the sequence again. The difficulty with it is if you had it as an ordinary sequence event, just a sequence event, it would step through looking at this variable here, and it would find the first instance of a match. So if it was in mode 3, it would find this 3 here and go to the next one, and that will be the mode that it will put it into. It would never get to this mode here and go 3, 2, 1, because it would instantly find that 3. So what we want to do is to keep an index. That's what's called an index sequence, and it will remember where it was last and only start the matching from there. It won't start the matching from the beginning each time. So we need another variable which we create. It's our own local variable that we put into it. So it's a local variable. So I always start those with my, and this is my call it whatever you like, so it doesn't clash with anything else. You've got my transponder, and I put IDX to remind me that's the index. What this needs to know here is how many objects there are in that sequence. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 objects in our sequence there. So that's what it's going to do, and it's going to write it back into this one here. So we'll get that back from that sim event again. We'll do a navcom filter, transponder mode goes in. It's going to put the 1 on the front of it. We take that out because we're not trying to write a 1 to it. We're trying to write whatever we've calculated here into that. And we also need to write into our own index. We need to update our index. Let's copy that. So that's going to be an input into our own index and update the index. So it looks a bit complicated. I don't think it is really. That's the function, that's how many objects are in the sequence, that's the current value of it, and that's where we were up to looking through our list. And then this is update the transponder mode and update my index. Let's save that as a new function, and we can actually sort of test it. We can actually prove it's working if I can move this out of the way. So if I click on the test button now, you should see it stepping through the sequence into test mode, and now it should go back through the sequence. So that's it, that's what it does. We need to allocate that to, well, I've said I'm going to allocate it to 2 buttons, so I can't make up my mind which one I'm going to use when I'm actually flying. So let's get that out of the way. So I'll allocate it to this push switch first here on the end. So it was my 152 transponder. I'm allocating it to this button here. And so we can just test that by pressing this button. And you can see it stepping through the sequence. And I'll also allocate it to this push button here. It doesn't really matter which one. My 152 transponder allocated to this button here. So again, when I press this one here, you can see it stepping through the sequence. So relatively simple to make that work. The last one here is the ident button. I need to get some power on for this one here. The ident button only works when it's actually in one of the 2 sort of functioning modes. The weird thing is you can't turn it off in the actual screen. You have to come out and go back in again, which is a bit weird. But I'm going to put a command, and I'll do the same here. I can put it onto this one here and onto that one there, just so I've got two different places to put it. And it's a straightforward allocation, this one. Again, it's in this sort of legacy one here, and we've got the ident toggle, so we can allocate that. And if we test that, when we press the ident button, it comes on. Press it again and it turns it off. So we can actually turn the ident off, and so we'll reallocate it to the other button as well. So it's the ident toggle allocated to this one here, and that's it. That's the entire thing allocated now. So we need to save that as a template. So we're going to save this current setup as a template, and we'll keep the naming convention as we had before. These are all caused by my move to Honeycomb Yoke. So anything that's current and I don't want to delete, when I come to do my tidy up, is going to start with HC, and it's my C152 transponder. And we'll click on save for that. It's not particularly for the 152, it's just I don't know the model number. If I knew the model number of it, I would use that. So again, let's go through the process of building the aircraft back. So let's clear this current configuration. So I would link my yoke switches template, and close that. You need to double click on it to make it link. And I would then apply the other templates. So the other templates I've got are my throttle quadrant. So we can apply that. That'll merge everything. And then apply my radio. And now apply my transponder. Again, merging it in, merge everything. And that's all been built now. So I've got control. I've got my yoke working. Let's turn the battery on. I've got my radio comms working. So that's all working, my nav's working, and my transponder, that's working. Okay, so that's where we're up to, and I'll see you in the next video.